The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions, and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
Good evening, everybody. It is Monday night right here on Armed Radio. That means you're listening to Two Beards Talking. I'm Daniel Sanders.
And I'm Donnie J.
And it is a very special Monday night because... No. That was yesterday. Yesterday, November 10th, 244th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. And then, of course, today, November 11th, is Veterans Day. So, as always, at the start of every show, we want to give a big shout-out to the troops out there and men and women serving overseas. And on the home front, we appreciate everything you guys and gals are doing. Y'all be sure to come home safe. Everybody here at home is rooting for you.
Always.
So, We're gonna go ahead and we have to get into it.
Oh no. Here we go. Go ahead. Get it over with.
Yes.
Get it over with. Get it over with.
We have to for all the football fans out there.
Here we go.
Yes. And this is not just because of the fact that I took classes at Auburn and have been an Auburn fan almost my entire life. But Saturday was a bittersweet moment for anybody that is not an Alabama fan.
Okay, so it wasn't a bittersweet moment for me, okay? So go to hell.
For those of you that don't watch college football or are unable to watch college football or just don't care, we're going to tell you anyways. Alabama, what was it they said? 31 straight victories.
Yes. 31
straight victories, and that finally came to a halt on Saturday, courtesy of the LSU Tigers.
It's been 8 years since LSU beat us. I think 8 years,
yep.
Something like that. Yeah.
And I think that was the graphic they showed on there. Like it wasn't a graphic they showed on the game, but I think somebody did the math, and it's like once every 9 years LSU beats Alabama, and this just happened to be their year. And plain and simple, Alabama was just outplayed.
Well, I took some I made some observations, and I'll start by saying that losing may have been the best thing that could have happened to the Crimson Tide. And you bear with me for a second. Here's why. First of all, LSU just played better the whole game than we did. We rallied later on in the game. We rallied too late. If we'd have had maybe another minute left, I think we could have probably pulled it off and could have won. But we played bad. We had, I think if we'd have put one of the observations I made was I think that if we put Mac Jones in at the start of the fourth quarter and interchanged him, Mac Jones to a Tagovailoa, Mac Jones to in and out, it would have thrown the rhythm off terribly for LSU, and we would have had a chance, a better chance. Okay. I think that could have been a game changer. Tua wasn't 100%.
No, he wasn't.
Now they said it was a game time decision that was made, but actually the decision was probably made earlier in the week. He was looking good earlier in the week, but I think at game time he was saying he was 100%, but I think probably around the second quarter you started seeing he did well. But then he was limping. At the end of the game, he was limping. And by the fourth quarter, you could tell he was favoring the leg.
Yeah.
He wasn't 100%, wasn't even 80. Switching him and Mac in and out, like I said, might have done something. Our defense was crappy. All right, we had so many missed opportunities.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know where the Alabama defense was, but it wasn't in Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday.
No.
That's for sure. And our games are our defense has always been the cornerstone of the Crimson Tide.
Well, personally, I think they need to start taking a look at their special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, special teams, while nobody really considers it, special teams goes a long way. How many
Kicks.
field goals has Alabama missed this season?
I can't count.
It would take more than one hand to count them.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to when you've that's something that you've got to be able to depend on. I mean, you've got to have. I'm going pro here, but you've got to have that Adam Vinatieri kind of guy on your team. And if you've got one of those that can boot it in from 45, from 50 yards away, at worst comes to worst, we've only got a few seconds on the clock. Yeah, we're 55 yards out, but we've got this guy, and he can get it through there. We don't have that guy. We never have.
No, you don't even have it from 20 yards out.
The last time we had a great kicker, I think his name was Tiffin, Van Tiffin. We're talking 1984, okay? His son Lee did a pretty good job, but, I mean, since then, we haven't had a great kicker. It's been hit and miss.
Yeah.
And then one of the other observations I made, Ed Orgeron or whatever the hell his name
Farmer
is.
John from the Water Boy.
The Cajun boy. Some disrespectful comments there at the end. I hope he likes crow in his gumbo. That's all I'm going to say about that. Because there's going to be a heaping helping of it coming up soon. Because and here's my last point, my last take on this. History has shown that when the Crimson Tide either A, drops in the polls, B, loses a game with playoff implications, or C, gets verbally disrespected and trashed by a team that just beat them, or a combination of all three, the result for said team is bad. Usually very, very bad. Because what you got now is the pressure's off of us. Well, not that it's been off for a while, but we're not number one. Not that pressure to stay at number one. We're number 4. We're still in the hunt. We still have, of course, LSU controls their destiny. Now our destiny is controlled by other factors, but we still got a shot at it. And if we're there, if we're in the top 4, and we have to go up against LSU again, there will be a reckoning. The beast will be hungry. He will be out for revenge. And, the Crimson Tide is going to be a tidal wave, and Baton Rouge is too close to the water.
Now, I will say this, without a doubt, Nick Saban is, even like I said, even though I'm an Auburn fan, Nick Saban is, without a doubt, one of the greatest coaches in college football today. Mm-hmm. But he's still a human being.
Yeah.
He is not infallible. And history has shown time and time again that even the greats do slip up every now and again. Look back at 2014, the Iron Bowl, the kick 6.
Oh, yeah, do we have to?
Oh, we have to. We have to. As an Auburn fan, that's one of our most greatest moments.
I know. What he said, I mean, his words, he was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
He's not infallible. He's a human being.
For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, in 2000, I think it was 2014 was the year.
Yes.
Auburn, first and foremost, I'll preface it with this. The Iron Bowl, all bets are off. Throw out whatever has happened leading up to it from the season.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen. I have seen Auburn have one win on the season, Alabama be undefeated. And, of course, I'm exaggerating numbers, but Auburn could still win.
Right.
Or vice versa. It's just a totally different ballgame.
And in the state of Alabama, if you've lost every game in the entire season, but you beat Alabama, it was a winning season at Auburn. So
absolutely, and vice versa.
Yeah, and vice versa. Yeah.
But Auburn was down. A play had occurred. They were tied. They were tied. And
we sent our wonderful field goal kicker in to kick the field goal.
Instead of Nick Saban just letting the clock run out and go into overtime, which Alabama probably would have won the game, Nick Saban demanded that time get put back on the clock from this previous play. There was like 3 seconds left on the clock. And he put in a redshirt freshman to attempt a 60-plus yard field goal attempt. Oh, he's been nailing them from this distance in practice all season long.
Practice is a whole lot different when you've got 107,000 screaming rabid fans.
And the game is on the line.
Yes. Little bit different situation.
Now, that having been said, for him being a redshirt freshman, even though he missed the kick, it was short and it was wide, he was not off by much.
No. But he was off.
Yes, he was off. I'm trying to remember who the receiver's name was, which it's irrelevant at this point. But he fields the kick 9 yards deep in the end zone and returns it all the way across the field for the touchdown.
Because there's nobody on special teams to tackle.
Yes, those were the two big mistakes Nick Saban made in that game. Putting in a redshirt freshman with a game on the line, with no game experience at all, and then not having anybody on the kicking team with the speed to stop the receiver if he fields the ball.
I think the kicker actually attempted a tackle and got floored by somebody from Auburn. I mean, it was sad. It was like, what are you doing? Just get out of the way, you know.
Yeah.
And it was they called it the kick six, and it won the game, and it's infamous, famous if you're Auburn, but infamous if you're an Alabama fan, and. Anything can happen on any given Saturday, but on that Saturday in November, the last Saturday in November, man.
Yep. So with this game, again, Nick Saban just made a lot of mistakes as a head coach. One was starting Tua Tagovailoa and knowing that he was not at 100% and keeping him in the entire game. Tua is recovering from surgery on his ankle and is still not 100%. I wouldn't even say he's 80%. Definitely not 80% now after this most recent game. But yeah, that was the first mistake he made, running Tua the entire game. The second mistake he made is never having his recruiting department look at somebody to be a damn kicker. Special teams matters, Nick.
Yeah, well, you know, Alabama's cornerstone has always been the defense. It's always been a really phenomenal defense. I mean, we produce some of the greatest linebackers, offensive linesmen, defensive linesmen in the game. So that's always been, defense has always been our cornerstone. But you're right. Yeah, special teams would be good, and there's a lot of good kickers out there.
There are, and they generally go to Auburn.
Is it Perrine or Perrine? I forget how I pronounce his name. The Ty Perrine or Perrine, the kicker that we've got, the one that's a soccer kicker that can punt it.
Yeah,
60 yards, 60, 70 yards. That kid's good.
Are you talking about the kid that fumbled their very first punt in the ball game?
Unfortunately, that would be him. But a couple of Saturdays ago, he was really great. I mean, he booted it half the length of the field, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, we found our kicker!" And then, oh no, maybe we haven't. It's
there were just Alabama just made too many mistakes in that game. For one, you had on Alabama's opening drive from 8 yards out. Tua tries to run it in, fumbles the ball. LSU recovers, capitalizes on that drive with a touchdown.
Yeah.
On the very next drive, Alabama goes 3 and out, and the punter fumbles the football off of his face mask.
And I can just imagine. I mean, they showed it's a clip. It went viral of Saban taking his headset off and throwing it on the ground, which he's done when he's notorious for doing that. I'd be interested to know how many headsets have been broken at the University of Alabama since he's been there, because he'll rip that sucker off and bash it to the ground, then turn around and hand me another headset. Saban was not happy. Now, all of this that we've being said, I got to say something. And it's not the entire Crimson Tide fan base, but there's a lot of the Crimson Tide fan base that I'm disappointed in, because y'all are a bunch of fickle bastards. I mean, really calling for Saban's resignation over this one game, over a few mistakes, after how many championships has he handed us, after how many games has he won for us, and you want his resignation? Get the hell out of here. Grow up. We lose sometimes. Yeah, it's the Crimson Tide, and yeah, it's great. And we're going to lose every now and then. Get over it. We'll win again. But this whiny-ass attitude of Saban's got to go and I'm not donating any more to the University of Alabama, and I saw this post, I just wanted to smack somebody upside the head because it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. The greatness that Saban has inspired at the University of Alabama, the great teams he's fielded, the championships that have been won, and because of this, a few whiny-ass punks call for his resignation. Really? Come on, man. Grow up.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This was actually trending on Twitter. #FireSaban. And I'm sitting here looking at a lot of these posts on Twitter. Lil Lando from 79th wrote, "I just left Bryant Denny with an awful taste in my mouth. I'm afraid this is an end of an era and the end of my donations. We need to move on from Nick. #FireSaban." First and foremost, your donations. Lil Lando from 79th. First and foremost, you in your Twitter handle, you have the word Lil. Not little, Lil. Yeah. So odds are, I don't think Tuscaloosa is going to be hurting too bad without your quote-unquote donations.
Yeah, that $10 a year doesn't go as far as you think it goes. So, and the rest of some of the tweets that I saw, obviously some of them I think they were made in jest. Some of them were made by Auburn fans that are pretending to be Crimson Tide fans or fans who aren't fans, really. But some of them were serious. Some of them were really. I was like, this guy's for real. He really wants Saban fired.
Yeah. Now here's an example of satire with this whole #FireSaban thing. Nick Saban is a terrible coach who should absolutely be fired. How could he lose to a man named Joe? I'm so disgusted that I won't even have premarital sex with my cousin. #FireSaban.
Yeah, that was cute.
That's absolutely 100% satire, but
there were a lot that weren't satire. Sadly there were a lot of tweets, a lot of posts that were calling for his resignation, and I think that's ridiculous. I mean, you call for resignation from somebody who has had two seasons where you've lost 8 or 9 games. Okay,
yeah.
They just recently fired Arkansas's head coach this past week. Okay. Deservedly so. Arkansas hasn't won a game against us in how many years? 10? I don't know. Maybe
I think you would
10,
need
15?
fingers and toes to count that one.
Probably, yeah. But the thing is, that's when you fire a coach, not when you've won how many national championships and been in the national championship playoffs every year for the past 8 or 9 years. You don't do that.
Now, here's one #FireSaban post that I actually agree with. Nick Saban has gone 63-4 over the last 4 seasons, and y'all are starting a #FireSaban because of one loss.
Yep. That is completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. And it's basically just childishness, being spoiled. Yes, you're used to winning, but you can't win them all.
Yeah, and I made the prediction before the game started, not because I'm an Auburn fan, but because I just felt this was actually going to happen. I felt LSU was going to win the game. I felt LSU was the better team. And I had even made the comment that if Alabama decided to play Tua Tagovailoa during the game, at any point, LSU's defense was going to be coming at him as hard as they could. They were going to do anything that they could to get into the pocket, get him rattled. They knew he wasn't going to be scrambling that much because of his ankle. And sure enough, LSU's defense was hot after Tua all night long.
Well, think about this. If they'd put Mac Jones in, and here's what you've got. You've got a defense that has practiced against the left-handed quarterback all year.
Yeah.
All year. And now all of a sudden, boom, in comes a right-handed quarterback. And so all the plays that they've dialed up, that they're ready for for the Crimson Tide. I mean, I'm sure they have contingency plays, but still, if you'd have went Tua for Tua for 3 or 4 plays, and then bring in Mac for 3 or 4, and then Tua, and then back and forth and back and forth. If you'd have done that, you'd have thrown the rhythm off so badly that they wouldn't know what was happening.
Yeah,
and I think that could have been a major factor in the game, but. Hindsight's 20/20, and this one's in the books, and
just got to move on from it.
Now let's see what happens. In the playoff picture now, we have Alabama at number 4 right now. LSU, of course, jumped to number 1. We dropped 2 places. We're now at number 4. Ohio State is number 2, and who's number 3?
I'm not sure. Penn State lost this week, didn't they?
They did lose. Penn State lost.
Yeah, so that was a major upset for them.
Clemson? No, not Clemson.
Maybe Clemson.
Anyway. But we're number 4. Now, that's not necessarily the committee's. That's not the way that they see it. But things can change.
Yeah. Here's one more hashtag Fire Saban post that I'm going to read. This is from, I assume he's trying to be Milk Lizard. He's got ones in place of the eyes. Okay. I've spent well over $100K on Bama in my lifetime. Well, first and foremost, you're a fucking retard for that right off the bat. And through 30 years of being diehard Bama fans, through 30 years of being diehard Bams fan, yeah.
Spelling.
I've never seen anything he spelled atrocious right. I'll give him credit for that. I've never seen anything as atrocious as this team. Everyone was right. We were just playing cupcakes. Time for Nick to go. Hashtag Fire Saban.
Well, again, I think firings. I think that's way out of line. But the cupcake remark.
He's not too far off.
I was not. Yeah, our schedule this year. I looked at it and I'm like, what? Where's the Omaha School for the Deaf and Blind? I mean, why aren't they on our schedule? I mean, really, we did. There was some cupcakes on there.
There were. I mean, y'all.
But then look at Clemson. Clemson didn't have that big of. They had a kind of a cupcake-ish schedule.
Well,
too.
Clemson always has a cupcake-ish schedule. I mean,
yeah, but they're the national champions.
Unless you're in the SEC,
yeah.
Then, you might have 2 or 3 tough games, and then everybody else is pretty much just going to be a landslide if you're one of the major schools.
And it's always either Georgia or is it South Carolina? One of the 2 schools in the SEC always get just – I forget which one it is. They always get handed just like the worst schedule of all. I mean, it's like they start out with a number 2, and it just gets worse and worse. And like somewhere along the way, they may get one. They may play a Fresno State or something, but then it goes right back to Georgia, and then it goes to Florida, and then it. I think it's either Georgia or South Carolina that usually has that kind of a grueling schedule. It's just like boom, they take a pounding one right after another.
Well, that was Auburn this year, except we were able to capitalize on those top 10 games that we played at the start of the season. Oregon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then we started playing good teams, LSU, Georgia, and that was the other thing, too. We held LSU to only a 3-point game in Baton Rouge.
Okay, we're gonna move on to politics now because you keep bashing the Tide and comparing your precious Auburn Tigers. So
oh man,
enough of that. Enough college football talk. Okay, roll Tide.
War Eagle.
There we go. All right.
Oh man, so moving away from college football, Donald Trump. That's always a good way to start off a conversation.
It's always a great way. Yes, always.
Donald Trump has actually suggested sending in troops to Mexico to fight the cartels.
That's a bad idea for many reasons.
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking of that opening scene from Super Troopers when Mac jumps in the cop car and you boys like Mexico?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, we're going to send troops down there to fight the cartels. It's guerrilla warfare at its best, but what you got to understand is we're not fighting a bunch of yahoos who, they may not be they don't have the training that we have, But they got lots of money, and they can buy a lot of things. Like they can buy a lot of weapons. They can pay a lot of people off. I don't think that'd be it. I think, if we went down and declared war, yes. I mean, an all-out declaration of war, possibly. But it's not. It's the war on drugs has proven to be a folly war for years and years now. I mean, the war on drugs has been a joke.
Yeah. Now, all of this is coming in the wake of 9 Americans who were killed in an ambush by members of one of the cartels in Mexico.
Right.
And this is an article from CNBC that says, bullet points here, President Donald Trump says that the United States is willing to help Mexico, quote, wage war on the drug cartels in the country.
Well, okay. I would have used a different choice of words than waging war. Help clean up, possibly, but when you talk about waging war, those very words have implications. We both understand that. But you're not going to have a successful war, if you will, with the drug cartels.
Yes,
because it's like a hydra. Okay, you chop one head off, 2 takes its place. You chop those 2 off, 4 takes its place, and that's what you've got with the cartels. They have lieutenants. You got to get them all. They're almost, not quite, but they're almost as bad. They're better financed, but they're almost as bad as ISIS. Because I mean, they've got it set up, and they've got loyalty, and they've got the people. They'll get in these cities, these small cities, and they'll ingratiate themselves to the populace. They'll have medical clinics set up. They'll food for everybody. They'll take care of the populace. And so what happens is when you've got troops that respect the rule of law and respect humans go in, like the United States, say, we'll go into these towns, and these people are protecting the cartels.
Right.
And getting around that, getting by that, they're going to use them as a human shield.
Mm-hmm.
It would be very, very, very nasty war.
Yeah.
And I don't think I haven't seen the headlines really. I'm not sure the president of Mexico would be appreciative of that help.
Well, it says here in this bullet, when asked Tuesday morning if Mexico would accept U.S. help on the security issue, President Manuel Lopez Obrador said that he doesn't believe his country will need foreign intervention to deal with such cases.
Well, he hadn't dealt with them himself, so, I mean, most of the judiciary in Mexico is owned by the cartels.
Yes.
I mean, that's just a widely accepted, widely known fact. The justice system is part and parcel owned by the cartels.
Yeah.
A lot of politicians are owned by the cartels.
Mm-hmm. And I can't help but wonder if he is, too.
It would not be unheard of. The only person I think in Mexico that is not owned by the cartels is, and I can't remember his name, the billionaire who's the telecommunications magnate. He's like one of the richest men in the world.
Yeah, the Telemundo guy.
Right. I don't think they own him yet.
Maybe he owns them.
That's possible because he's like the 3rd richest man in the world. So I mean, when your peers are Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos, then that's saying something right there.
Yeah.
And he's got $1 or 2, so he can either A, own them, or B, he can
Maybe Telemundo's just that successful. I mean, I've never watched it personally, but
I've seen some of those what they call them, telenovelas. Very overdramatic acting. I mean, they made William Shatner look like Oscar-worthy material.
Those Mexican soaps.
Yes, as far as overacting. But back to the cartel business. I don't think that's a good idea, sending American troops down there to do that.
I agree.
I think, I think we would be better served sending troops in places where we can ferret out real terrorists.
Yeah. First and foremost, I've said for years that we have our own issues here that we need to fix.
True.
It's pretty hypocritical for me to tell you need to be cutting your grass when I haven't mowed my lawn for a month.
Indeed.
So I think we need to fix what we have going on here, the issues we have going on here, before we start offering assistance to other people with shit like that.
Right. Absolutely.
So, yeah, we're going to move on to another topic that I've just been reading about here, and this kind of I'm definitely going to go into. I'm definitely going to go more in depth with this tomorrow night on my show, Second Amendment Talk. But this is an article on Fox News. The headline says, Colorado homeowner owed nothing after police SWAT shootout destroys his house, federal court rules.
Completely ridiculous ruling.
Yes. A federal appeals court in Colorado ruled Tuesday that a local police department does not have to compensate a homeowner whose house was destroyed by 19 hours of gunfire between officers and an armed shoplifting suspect who had chosen to barricade himself inside to evade arrest. Now, I know some of you out there are probably thinking, well, I mean, if the guy committed a crime and then ran to his house to hide and cops had to shoot his house up and everything, yeah, he shouldn't get. But here's the thing. The homeowner was not the criminal.
No, he's being treated like it.
It says, judges on the U.S. District Court of Appeals for the 10th Circuit upheld a lower court's decision, ruling that the city of Greenwood Village near Denver did not owe homeowner Leo Lech any additional compensation, even though the suspect was a stranger to the homeowner.
You said any additional compensation. Now, I'm assuming the insurance company must have paid something.
Yeah, I think he made a comment that insurance had covered a portion of it. It says here that his home valued at $580,000. Over $500,000. I can't even fathom that kind of thing. That's, of course, you know, I'm from Podunk, Alabama. Says valued at $580,000 was marked for demolition in 2015 after a SWAT team used armored vehicles to breach the structure, deployed tear gas and explosives, and shot 40-millimeter rounds in an effort to drive the suspect out after he refused to surrender and shot at the officers. The suspect broke into the house when no one was home to use it as a hideout.
Pathetic. I mean, through no fault of his own, he lost his house.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying you get nothing for it? Now, let's flip this around. What's to make the next time something like this happens, what's to make citizens go, hell no, I'm not helping the police. No. Go somewhere else. No, lock the doors. Don't let them in. You know, I know it was a perpetrator that got in his house, but the fact remains, if you know that your government, that your judiciary is not going to be there for you, is not going to say, okay, we've destroyed this man's home, we got to pick up the tab. We at least got to help pay for rent. We got to do something. If you're going to totally skate the responsibility, then that makes every citizen out there go, hell no, I'm not helping him. Because if things go south, I'm left holding the bag.
Yeah. So this was a quote from the homeowner. The bottom line is that destroying somebody's home and throwing them out in the street by a government agency for whatever circumstances is not acceptable in a civilized society. It destroyed our lives completely.
And well, I mean, he can't get his. They demolished his house.
Yeah,
I mean, it was that bad that they had to condemn it, and I can't believe that a court would say that he's not entitled to compensation. What the hell are they smoking at the 10th Circuit? I mean, really?
Wow. So it says Mr. Lech was renting his house to his son, John, who lived there with his girlfriend and her son, but they were not at home at the time of the incident.
Thank God.
Yes. The city had initially paid Lech $5,000 in temporary living assistance. John Lech moved in with his parents, and his girlfriend's son had to change schools. Lech's attorney said that his home insurance company paid him $345,000 for the damage, but that amount did not come close to covering additional costs related to personal property damage, demolishing and rebuilding the home, and taking out a new mortgage on the house.
I fear, like I said, this is going to set a precedent. It sets a bad precedent as an impetus for people not to help police. I mean, the police are disadvantaged as it is because they don't have the greatest reputation. Many of them don't have the greatest reputation among the civilian populace. So now we're going to toss this into the fray that, oh, and by the way, if you help either the police or the bad guys, and your shit gets damaged, too bad, so sad.
Yeah,
I find fault with that.
Now, his attorney, Rachel Maxim, was quoted as saying, "It's a miracle insurance covered any of it in the first place. Insurance is for fires and floods. There's no police blew up my house insurance."
Most insurance policies have an act of God clause. I don't think that qualifies as an act of God.
No, I don't think you can claim that as a comprehensive or anything. I don't think there's any collateral damage clause in the insurance.
Not so much.
She added that a home next door that suffered about $70,000 in damage was not compensated by its insurance company. The court's decision said that the police department and the city were not liable for damage caused to the property because officers were acting in their lawful role to arrest a criminal suspect. Okay, I get that to an extent, but nothing says tear down the fucking house to get the guy.
No, well, that's like my daughter was involved in a car accident back in March. The police should have de-escalated. They chased a drunk driver that did not have a license, that was an illegal immigrant in a stolen car. And rather than de-escalating, backing off so that he would slow down eventually, they chased him. They were like, it was like a cat chasing a mouse. They couldn't help themselves. Oh, we got one, boys. We got one. Let's go get him. Let's go get him. And what did he do? He jumped a curb, and he hit my daughter. And broke her hip, broke her leg in 2 places. She's had to undergo rehab. She suffered to date about $25,000 worth of out-of-pocket medical expenses. And the city violated its own policy. City of North Charleston, South Carolina, violated their own internal policy, as well as possibly state law that says don't chase. Don't engage in a high-speed chase in a rural, a residential district, and that's what they did. They violated their own policies, and now they're saying, "Oh, well, we've got qualified immunity." Bullshit, you do. You do not have qualified immunity. You should have de-escalated. Yeah, because when they get behind him, they got the dash cam. They've got his tag number, and he wasn't going anywhere. Well, he was going somewhere at about 95 miles per hour. But the point is, they could find this guy later, maybe later on that evening even. Throw down the tax, do whatever. It's just like in the case that we're talking about with the house. De-escalate. Why did they – okay, it's a shootout. Let the guy go. He's got a gun in there. The people weren't home. Move. Get out. Get out of the way. Leave. Leave everywhere. Eventually, he will leave. Eventually, he will run. He's like a rabbit. He'll run somewhere else. Get him outside get him out of that house, and then, if you want to have a shootout with him, go ahead. But don't do it in someone's house.
So now this is a quote from the city of Greenwood Village. The courts, both state and federal, who have analyzed this matter, have consistently ruled in favor of the police actions taken to resolve this critical incident. The courts have recognized that while these types of events present difficult questions, the police should value life over property and may act pursuant to their police powers accordingly. Okay, life over property, I agree with. But using a goddamn MRAP as a damn battering ram to get into the house... And then lobbing damn 40-millimeter smoke grenades and everything else into the house. That's, we had a vehicle commander. My second deployment in Iraq. This was the only TIC incident that we had. Troops in contact. My second deployment. 2 LAV-25s in a convoy, and a bongo truck out in the middle of the desert with 3 insurgents. An insurgent in the back of the truck jumped up and popped off 3 rounds at an up-armored convoy.
There's brilliant thinking.
Yeah. So they halt the convoy. They swing turrets on this truck on these two LAV 25s.
I can see this. You have our attention now.
I don't know if you've ever seen what a 25 millimeter round does to a little tiny Mitsubishi truck.
I can pretty much imagine.
Okay, so you can imagine. Now imagine 150 HE 25 millimeter rounds from one vehicle.
Yeah. I'm thinking probably Swiss cheese.
Not even. I mean, that truck was a hunk of scrap metal. I was working in the COC. I got to see all of the after action reports and the pictures. It was a beautiful mess. And yeah, they pulled that convoy commander off of his duties while they investigated the incident for excessive use of force.
Oh, my God.
We were in a war zone.
Which brings me to something else that's in the news here recently. And I've been critical of our president. And I would like to, at this time, say, kudos, Mr. President. You finally got it right, and you finally done something right. Navy Chief Petty Officer Eddie Gallagher is going to be allowed to retire at his pay rate of Chief Petty Officer. Previously found guilty of, I believe it was conduct unbecoming. I believe that's what they found. They eventually found him guilty of. He was being drummed out of the out of the Navy SEALs, drummed out of the Navy, and they were going to reduced him in rank. Okay, so it was a dishonorable discharge and reduction in rank. Now, the discharge can become something else later on, but the reduction in rank is a permanent thing, and he wasn't going to retire as a chief. And for those of you who don't know, well, the military people listening, the difference between retiring as a first-class petty officer and chief petty officer is considerable.
Yeah.
And plus, it's just the simple fact that I don't get this, that we train these people to be killers. We train them to be the elite of the elite. We train them to be able to go into places and do things that no regular soldier, sailor, airman, Marine can do. We teach them to be the most efficient killing machine in the world. And then we put them in jail, and we prosecute them and put them in jail when they do their job.
Yeah.
Now, there's just something incredibly fucking wrong with a system that does that. And all that Gallagher was guilty of was posing in front of a dead ISIS insurgent.
Yeah, he didn't piss on his, as far as we know, he didn't piss on his body. Being a SEAL, I wouldn't necessarily put it past him to have not done it. But
and if he was responsible for killing some of my buddies, I can understand doing that. You know, I don't have a problem with it, really.
Yeah.
He's a cowardly terrorist. He hates everything that we're about, hates our religion, hates our way of life, and he lost. Yeah. Guess what? You get pissed on. That's just how it works.
You know, yeah. I mean, he wasn't engaged in making detainees perform sexual acts on one another and taking photographs and videos of it. Why you would want to video and picture that is beyond me, because I worked in a detainee facility my first deployment, and those are some nasty motherfuckers.
Yes, absolutely. But back to the point is that he did his job. He killed this guy.
Absolutely.
And then they wanted to prosecute him. And for what? For what? For posing. I mean, he wasn't posing with his foot on the soldier, on the insurgent, on the ISIS insurgent. Wasn't posing with his foot on him like it was a trophy or nothing. It wasn't a picture, like you said, of him pissing on him. It was just in the background. So what? Big whoop-de-crap. Who cares?
Even if he was standing right by his body, holding his lifeless head up, showing his face to the picture, and smiling with a thumbs up like he just bagged a damn 16-point deer, I don't care.
I'd want that picture framed.
Yes.
You know, this is what America's enemies has to look forward to. I think that should be a cautionary tale, not something to be prosecuted by JAG. And President Trump, good job restoring Chief Gallagher to Chief Gallagher status. And I'm pretty sure somewhere along the way, gonna probably pardon whatever offenses that he had. And I think that's a phenomenal thing to do. I really do.
Well, according to everything, because I've got it pulled up. Right here. This is an article from Business Insider. Trump is. Let me get the full headline pulled up here. Trump is reportedly pardoning a Navy SEAL convicted of taking a photo with a dead ISIS fighter. Now, this is as of November 4th. It doesn't say if by pardoning he means just restoring his rank or if by pardon they're meaning removing all criminal charges from his record.
I would think that would be that one, that it would be removing all criminal charges from his record.
I would think so.
Yes, because a pardon should have teeth. It should be able to actually affect some change. And yeah, just removing it from your record, it should restore rank, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah. It says, these are some bullets here in the article. It says, President Trump has reportedly decided to restore the rank of Navy SEAL Chief Eddie Gallagher, who was convicted of taking a photo with a deceased teenage ISIS fighter in 2017. I don't know why they felt it necessary to put the information there that it was a teenager. I personally don't give a shit because
I could care less.
What I was always taught is the second you engage me, you're man, woman, child, it doesn't matter.
You just became the enemy.
You are now a target.
Yes. That's as it should be. That's as it should be.
Gallagher would retire as a chief, reinstating approximately $200,000 of his retirement pay.
I wonder how many probably an inappropriate question, but I wonder how many kills he has, Gallagher.
More than I do.
He's got more deployments than you do, so I mean,
yeah, that's true. Trump is also reportedly considering pardons for an officer serving a 19-year sentence for the deaths of 2 Afghans and for an Army Green Beret charged with killing an unarmed Afghan. The unarmed, I got to look more into that. The deaths of 2 Afghans, I got to look into that too, because I mean, were they armed? Were they potentially acting in a suspicious, terroristic manner?
Yeah, those are questions that need to be answered.
If not, then, like the Army Green Beret charged with killing an unarmed Afghan. If it was just some Joe Blow standing on the sidewalk and I'm bored that day and I want to see what a 5.56 is going to do to somebody's skull, yeah, I probably need to sit in a little tiny room for the rest of my life.
Probably. You sound like you have some experience with this. I'm just kidding.
I plead the fifth.
But all of this underscores the larger point that we train them to do a job. Don't prosecute them when they do it.
Yeah. Best example, personal example that I can give. Again, my first deployment in Iraq, the last 3 or 4 months that I was in country, we were working a traffic control point and bridge security for a main supply route in the city of Rawah in western Anbar province, Iraq. The bridge goes over the Euphrates River. The bridge was approximately 300 or 400 yards long, pretty lengthy stretch of water to cross. And one night we had closed down the TCP, and a vehicle came up late. So we started our EOFs and ROEs. I'm up in the tower. I'm waving orange flags because the driver's trying to now come up the wrong side of the TCP, just slowly creeping up. So I'm waving my flags in the tower, and he's just looking at me as he's creeping along. And then that's not stopping him. So my next step is flare. Nothing. He just watches it shoot across the sky. Just, that's pretty. Keep on moving. So I'm getting ready to hop on the 240 and light this guy's grill up. Mm-hmm. Guy that's on post with me, he fires a warning shot with a tracer round across the hood of his car. Just doesn't impact his car. Just in front of his car so the guy can see, hey, you need to stop.
Hey, we're here. We're over here.
And it gets the guy's attention.
Right.
He stops. We report in everything that's been happening. They finally tell us to go down, search the vehicle, send him on his way. The next day, our battalion JAG officer shows up to, quote, investigate the shooting.
What?
Yeah.
Why? What is there to investigate?
We
see. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Our ROEs, when I got in country, even on my first deployment in 2006, were so fucked up. It wasn't 2003 where we rolled into the city and if you were there, you were dead.
Well, any ROE that does not say, hey, if you feel threatened or if you're shot at, return fire. Anything that impedes the safety of our service people is ridiculous.
Yeah. 2006, when I was over there, our ROEs basically were we had to be under fire. We had to have positive identification of who was shooting at us and then hope and pray to God that they weren't in a mosque or a hospital. And then we had to request permission to return fire. And hope and pray to God we were granted permission.
Yeah. No, that's ridiculous, and it's more commonplace than you would think. Still, this goes back to training our people to do a job and then prosecuting them when they do the job. Here we have people who are trained to do a job, and now they've got to ask permission to do said job.
Yeah.
Can I please prevent this idiot over here from shooting me anymore? I would like to blow him to hell and back.
Yeah.
No, got to wait. Do you feel like you're in danger? Well, yeah, I'm being shot at. Now, that's pretty much the definition of being in danger.
Yeah.
So what is the problem here? And I think that I know there are some loose cannons out there, and I know there needs to be regulations. There needs to be guidelines. But a guideline is much different than something that's carved in stone. A guideline is something to go by. You should be able to amend that okay. Yeah, I know we're not supposed to shoot at kids, but this kid's got an RPG, so I think he's a target.
Yeah.
This is different. We shouldn't shoot at women, but this particular woman in a burqa is 6'3" and has a size 12 shoe. I'm thinking this might not be a woman. Maybe I should shoot them. Use common sense. Our soldiers, our sailors, airmen, Marine, they have common sense. They're trained in this shit. They can see these things. And I said about the burqa because actually I knew of a guy who was ex-CIA. He's ex-CIA now, and was driving on the Beltway in Washington, D.C., and there was a car broken down on the side of the road. 4 women in burqas were trying to flag help down. And his wife said, honey, are you going to stop and help? No, I'm calling it in. What are you calling in? Why don't you just stop and help? I know, because those are terrorists. How do you know? They could just be 1, women aren't allowed to drive. 2, they're all 6'1" and above. 3, they all have size 12 feet. They're trained to do a job. Let them do their job.
Yeah. I will say, maybe in the Navy there's a little bit more common sense. In the Marine Corps, common sense is an uncommon virtue.
You think?
So, hindsight being 2020, maybe giving us free reign while a good decision might not be a good decision.
Might not be a good decision, but you should have more free reign, maybe not, but more discretion.
Absolutely.
Don't shoot, don't return fire under any circumstances is stupid. If you're getting shot at, return fire. Okay, great.
Yeah.
And common sense dictates. You see, where's the fire coming from? Who's shooting at me? Okay, I can't see who's shooting at me, but I know they're shooting from me from behind that building over there. So let's level the fucking building and stop and solve the problem.
And that was, a lot of the problem is by the time I got in country, we were done fucking the whole place up, and now we were in the winning the hearts and minds thing. Yeah.
After you've blown a country up, now you're going to win their hearts and minds?
Yeah. I know at one point we paid a local farmer in town something like $20,000 because our LAVs were on a patrol, had gone off road, drove through this guy's farm and tore up a lot of irrigation pipes.
Ow.
Yeah. I don't think it was $20,000 worth of damage, but maybe. I don't know.
Made him happy and put him in good with the local ISIS people.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure the local cell probably found out about this guy's newfound fortune
and relieved him of it properly.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yes.
As well as his head.
Probably. But, winning the hearts and minds and that sort of thing, that comes afterwards. And back to the thing that we were talking about was, there's going to be collateral damage. There's going to be sad stories. There's no way. There's going to be civilians killed, collateral damage. That's part of war. And sometimes I think the media makes more of things than should be made. I think there should be transparency, but sometimes I think there's things that shouldn't be seen. Projected troop movements, that sort of thing. That's a no-brainer. But by that,
Geraldo.
But by that, I mean, let's be more discreet about what we broadcast. And the picture of Gallagher, maybe it wasn't the best placement. Maybe it wasn't just like product placement.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have moved away from the bodies. But then again, who knows who this picture was meant for? Yeah. Maybe this picture wasn't meant for dissemination. Maybe it wasn't meant for the whole world to see. But if that's the case, don't take the damn picture.
I mean, it could very well be that this ISIS fighter in this picture could have very well been somebody on somebody's HVT list, and the picture could have been positive identification of the kill. Okay, we can get him off the list.
Yeah, he's no longer a high-value target. He's dead.
You know? I mean, of course, it's all speculation, and really all kind of moot at this point.
But kudos to President Trump for restoring his rank, and I'm assuming somewhere down the road there's going to be a pardon. So,
hopefully so. Hopefully so. Yes, definitely. So we're running short on time. I'm going to take another opportunity real quick to plug my show tomorrow night, 8 p.m. right here on Armed Radio. Listen to me and Rod on 2AT, Second Amendment Talk. Again, big shout out to all the troops out there. We appreciate everything you guys and gals are doing overseas and on the home front. Come home safe. We're all rooting for you. Definite big happy Veterans Day and a big happy 244th to all my fellow devil dogs out there.
Hoorah.
Rah. So, I got nothing more. Donnie, you got anything?
That's about it. From a devil doc, hey, happy 244th.
Yep. We'll let you do it, Doc. You are pardoned. So this has been Two Beards Talking. I'm Daniel Sanders.
And I'm Donnie J.
Thanks for listening, everybody.